for this issue, the two parties involved basically. First is the police. And when we are doing this sort of media exposure, police is responsible for the violation of the rights of the victim. Second thing, the people who are involving in this sort of issues as a media. Technically, you are extremely correct. When a person got involved in the violation of a fundamental rights or the human rights, and where he or she should not assign for the same place where she worked. As a police officers, we are responsible to the supreme law of the country, not anybody else. It may be an order from the Ministry of Public Order, Ministry of Public Security, maybe Ministry of Defense, whoever it is. It is not that. According to your conscience, according to as a police officer, you are responsible to the constitution of this country.
Thank you, DIG, for joining us on the program.
Yes.
So let's discuss that is something that is very topical these days with child protection and cases of child abuse. We see them often on the media, but we also see that police officers themselves, whilst investigating these, whilst questioning the victims, the children themselves, we see that the private media, they are being accompanied with the private media. And we know that when the private media is there, it is only the objective can only be about sensationalization, about making a quick buck via YouTube channels or something like that. But then the danger there is that the police are exposing the privacy, the confidentiality of these little children. Very vital information that is required for a court case is being exposed to the public. How do you feel about this situation?
Yeah, in this issue, you have very correctly pointed out. Even I have seen in so many media channels, they really expose the victims and things, how it happened and when it happened, and all the things are in that piece of news articles. And for this issue, the two parties involved basically. First is the police, because when child abuse or any crime happen, from the inception, when they received the first information until the case is over in court, it's a prime responsibility of the police to safeguard the victim and their rights. And when we are doing this sort of media exposure, police is responsible for the violation of the rights of the victim. That is the one thing. Second thing, the people who are involving in this sort of issues as a media people, because each and every media person have their mothers. They are the son of a mother, no? Then they have sisters, and they have social responsibility to preserve their privacy. When such incident happen, always they have to look at in the angle, this is my sister, this is my mother, this is because this whole stuff is our own people. Because this highly damage the privacy of the children. And when the media, as a media people, at the reporters or the cameramen whom are reporting these things, they have to think about this issue. If these both parties, the police and the media, act on responsible manner, these things won't be happen. Now I urgently invite the media people to go to these international media channels, the CNN, Al Jazeera, Bloomberg, even India 24/7, the prime channels, and see how they report the crime. they never shown blood. They never shown the things effect to the psychology of their viewers. And you have to draw your own ethics among yourself for this sort of incident. Then please, police have their responsibility to prevent all this. Now, I can remember when I was a DIG crimes, there was an incident happened in Kandy, where the police, when they questioning the child victim, they allow media to come and record it, and they publish in their prime time news belt the same day. And we have taken very serious disciplinary action against those police officers, and this should stop. And recently, even with Dr. Vikram Nayak, we have sent a letter to the Inspector General of Police to draw his attention for this issue. And we hope, we are hoping that IGP will take necessary actions, and because we have suggested code of ethics for the police officers when they are handling child abuse cases in relation to the media. And we are hoping that and Inspector General of Police will take necessary actions and send an instruction circular to make these things successful manner.
Okay, so one of the very frustrating things as ordinary citizens that we face on a regular basis is that the state institutions are very lethargic about responding to letters or complaints, and we see this with the police effectively. You know that we wrote to the IGP, we have sent him a reminder as well. But we haven't received anything back. So we see this sort of pattern happening with ordinary different categories of police officers in different departments, the same non-responsiveness. How do you propose that we could improve it? I mean, we can't surely go to the IGP and shake him with his shoulders.
According to the Public Administration Circular, when a government servant, state sector received the complaint or any letter from a general public, they have to respond within 14 days. And time to time, they have to inform the progress of that particular matter. And I hope this police even have to follow these regulations. And sometimes due to this heavy load of work fall on them during this last couple of months, it may be a delay. But we are very progressively hoping that IGP will respond to our request.
Certainly, I'll send another reminder.
We'll see. And even because these are the very sensitive issues, because as an Inspector General of Police, he as a head of the police department, he is totally responsible to put things in a proper way. And actually, as a civil organization, when we are pointing out these sort of issues, it's the prime responsibility of this institution to get coordinate with us, because then only we can take this matter further up.
Exactly.
Because our main idea to stop the cruelty against the child.
Absolutely.
Children.
So we are all supposed to be working in harmony together, one focus. Yes. One of the things that has come up time and time again is the delay in the implementation of the law, the delay in implementing the rule of law. In that we see that there are many cases of child abuse stuck within the Attorney General's department, which are handled currently by either the police division of the National Child Protection Authority or the police divisions around the country. But we know that right now, as of today, there are about over 20,000 cases backlogged for the last 10 years. They're still only doing I believe, the 2012 cases at the moment. How do you propose that we can expedite this process in a more efficient manner from the police department?
Yes, now this when a child abuse case report to the police have to do the investigation and send the file to Attorney General's department for the sanction of the Attorney General, for the advice actually. And because the strength deploy for these to handle these files in the Attorney General departments are very minimal. I think now they are going to increase, and recently also they got down couple of state councillors to expedite this process. During Mr. Dappulu Delivera, when he was Attorney General's department, we had a lengthy discussion about at that time in year 2018 there were 7,000 odd files outstanding. Then when we personally involved and manipulate in this system, we found that some of the cases are very much older than more than 10 years. Then when it comes to the court after 10 years, it will be a hazard to their most of the people. Most of these girls at that time, they were married and having a good family life also. In such a situation, when we are bringing this sort of incident to the court, which happened over 10 years back, it will be badly affect to their family life. Due to this reason, most of the cases were filed back without any further action. But now I think in island-wide, we have 46 odd divisional children's and women's branches, and each and every police station, over 490 police stations, we have the separate branch and separate strength to investigate into these cases which are reported against the child and the women. And now most of these cases, then and there they file action against the suspects, and very complicated cases only now we are referring to the Attorney General's department. Now Attorney General department also increased their strength and they are expediting the process. This is a very progressive way of handling this subject, and I am extremely happy about the current situation. But still there are some delays in some areas. We are hoping that even those areas, those dark areas also will be lit up by the relevant authorities.
Okay, so as you know, DIG, let's inform our viewers that there is a regulation within the Attorney General's department that there is a separate section called the CH section for children, and the cases that are being referred to them, as a regulation, they need to complete the investigations within 3 months and ideally complete the whole case within 2 years. This is the kind of norm that's happening around the world, and in fact during the COVID time in UK there were a couple of children who were murdered and their cases have already finished and the perpetrators have been put behind bars. So we really hope that the service will improve.
Yeah, same system should be adopted in Sri Lanka also, and now we have increased the strength of children and women's units in island-wide, all divisional basic. And even police station, at least even the C grades, the smallest police station have 3 to 4 people separately handling this the investigation, and they were time to time will train them by Sri Lanka police. And under these circumstances, we hope that the bad delay won't be happen in future. And for these issues, not only the Attorney General's department, the police and entire judicial process should get involved, eradicate
to
this bad
reform
delay.
the whole system. Yes. So that's very interesting because as you know, DIG, within the state institutions, the departments, when an officer is found to be guilty of misconduct, it is the usual practice that they get a transfer within to another area. For instance, teachers. The same with police officers. But it's actually quite an alarming thing that if a police officer is found to have violated human rights, as in this very specific case, where very recently perpetrator who was put behind bars for abusing girls, sexually abusing girls, was very recently released, sadly on a technical grounds. And the basis of that is that the police officer, the OIC who investigated this investigation, was found to have violated the human rights. That particular person, after 1 year, was reinstated back in the same police station as the OIC of the Women's and Children's Bureau of that police station. So the message that is coming out from the police department is that it's okay for violators of human rights or abusers of human rights to be in service. So then it kind of normalizes the grave abuse. How do you feel that this can be improved?
Yeah, normally when they before take any action against the state officer, first the authorities have to check the degree of the misconduct. If the misconduct is in very high degree, definitely he have to be interdicted. If it is not that much serious, the option is with the authorities to transfer or take any other action except the interdiction. And the incident what you have mentioned happened in deep down south area, and the perpetrator was a highly influential local politician. He got involved with a couple of girls and abused them and had a sexual relationship with this group of women also, and later it was reported by media he celebrated his hundreds instance where he got involved with this the sexual issue, having a big tamasha, and lot of influential people also attend for that particular. We don't know how far it's true, but that was reported during
Allegedly so, yes.
Allegedly when the incident was happened. And this particular issue, the Chief Inspector who handled this case, actually she went beyond her limits to bring the perpetrator before the law. Because you know, under these special circumstances, this perpetrator was a very influential local politician. Except this particular police officer, some of the local police officers plus politicians were get involved to prevent by arresting this suspect, protect the perpetrator. But this particular women police officer went against all these issues and all these elements and tried to swim against the wind. But unfortunately, she found guilty for a case of violation of human rights. This is the incident what we have mentioned, but she was because she was under me for a long time. I knew that she was a capable police officer. After a couple of months, she was reported back. She was assigned back to the same official assignment. According to you, which is wrong. I agree with you. But this happened under this very special circumstances. That's what I want to just mention, the notice of the viewers. Mm-hmm. Actually, she went against this politician, some other, because under that circumstance only she found guilty for a case of violation fundamental rights of the perpetrator. But we can't forget this, finally the victim girl also took to the side of the perpetrator, and she gave evidence contradict to her main complaint, and that also went against the police officer, and ultimately the suspect got released by judiciary.
Sure. So the point I'm trying to make here, DIG, is I have no doubts of the capacity, the capability of the police officers. This is in no way derogatory of the police department. However, we do need to have standards.
Yes.
We do need to have national and international standards which the world will look up to, which as citizens we are also now becoming very globalized. We understand how things are done around the world.
At the same time, we can't forget that the person who got involved in the child abuse case, and when the case is going on, he was appointed to look after another child welfare home in southern area.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That is a separate issue, but it is yes, more serious than the issues mentioned by you.
Yes, well, actually the Scotland police did not think it was less serious, because one of this case was being brought in front of the Human Rights Council on the fact that, you know, for whatever reason, whatever technicality it may be.
Technically, you are extremely correct. When
yes,
a person got involved in the violation of a fundamental rights or the human rights, and where he or she should not assign for the same place where she worked.
That's the point I'm trying
it
to
should be a separate.
Good. Thank you.
Extremely.
Thank you for that. So going back to this connection between the citizen and the police. I mean, we run to the police for everything. We need the police. We respect the police. We should respect the police. But that respect and that connection between the citizen seems to be furthering away, specifically within this Aragalaya period where many of us did walk onto the streets purely because we want a better country, we want a better system altogether. That includes a better police service that can protect us. But we see this whole debate about the children, whether the police are protecting them or not, or whether the citizens are protecting them or not, being called as shields and no shields, etc. So where do you think the role of the police department should be in terms of protecting the future beneficiaries of our future, of our country, the children?
Yeah, talk to you in black and white. There was an incident happened recently at Galface where these protesters were doing their protest, and police alleged that they kept the child. They kept a child as a shield to protect against the police action. But the protesters' version was, no, that was naturally the lady came to this protest with a child.
To an unarmed, peaceful...
yes. First thing, this is an unarmed, peaceful protest. Under the Article 14 of our Constitution, that's the people's right. That has been decided by so many cases, especially from your hometown. There was a case reported during the Janagosha, when the Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa was in opposition leader. They did the Janagosha, and there was a judgment by Justice Mark Fernando about the exercising their right of the fundamental right, Article 14. We are inviting voluntarily, by mistake or automatically, children to these conflict zones. There are two responsibilities fall on the parties. Parties where the whom are involving in these issues, say the protest or whatever it is. They have to avoid children from these areas. That is the main thing. If you are doing protests, please don't take children into these zones, these conflict zones, because their minds are not ready to accept these violence issues. That is one thing. Second thing, by mistake, if someone involved, all the parties, if any child involved, all the parties have a prime responsibility to take care of this child or children, whoever it is. And they have to protect these children as a first responsibility to other than all their interests. That is the main thing. If we can follow these two systems, there won't be such bad incident happen. Then these children, because their mind is not ready for face this sort of conflict situation. Then as a citizen, as a elderly people, as a responsible people, our main object should, as much as possible, to avoid to take these children to these conflict areas, first thing. Second thing, by mistake, if someone got involved in these issues, all the parties have their prime responsibility to protect the right of this child or the children.
Yes, but as a senior DIG, I'm sure you would agree that once you adorn a uniform,
yes,
with that uniform comes a certain responsibility and a code of conduct.
Yes,
and that surpasses the ordinary citizen.
Yes.
And therefore, the response that the police should give to a citizen is far outweighs the infantile response it may be that the citizen might take. Do you
First
agree?
thing, we can't forget that police officers are funded by the people, not anybody else, not the state, not anyone, because this is a purely a people's tax money. We have to protect the people first, and we'll have to protect their rights also. In certain instance, I think during SWRD Bandaranaike's period, Mr. Osman Silla was the IGP. There were continuous strikes and protests against the government. And Mr. Bandaranaike wants Mr. Osman de Silva to crush these protesters. What he said, sorry, Honorable Prime Minister, I will do whatever possible according to the law. The same thing happened in the USA. When the Donald Trump was a president and when the agitation came against him, he summoned the Major General, Army General to his office, and in his word he said, crush the protesters. The reply of the general was, sorry Mr. President, I am responsible only to the American Constitution. Like that, as a police officers, we are responsible to the supreme law of the country, not anybody else. It may be an order from the Ministry of Public Order, Ministry of Public Security, maybe Ministry of Defense, whoever it is. It is not that. According to your conscience, according to as a police officer, you are responsible to the Constitution of this country, because
Thank you very much.
we have say that we are protecting the Constitution. If you can follow this, no one will be in trouble.
Well, thank you very much for a very informative discussion today.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Child protection is a collective social responsibility. If you pretend not to see a child who is in need of your protection, you are a contributor to the abuse.